everybody. Welcome to Radical Books and Activists. I'm your host, Jesus Estrada. Let me show you what's happening right here. A lot of fundraisers for Byron Lopez. There's his lovely wife. My daughter's coming up on us. So we're going to talk about Wakanda Forever, and I know that the music's probably going to cut off our stream, but this may be a short one. Simona, you want to talk about Wakanda Forever too? Wakanda Forever. You're fucking the other dude. Come on now. Anyway, we're here with Simona, Antonio. Say hi, Antonio. And Simona, say hi. And then this is Misael. What's up, brother? Okay, you have to go. Go, get out. You out. I say go back to you. So hopefully the Wi-Fi won't cut out. But today we're gonna talk about. Did you watch the movie, Misael?
Yeah.
You did. So let me turn off the music because we're gonna get called out. But I wanted to play a little bit of that too because I like the new. Or let me rephrase that. I drums in it and whatnot. So really, we're gonna talk about a lot of different things. But so what did you think about the movie overall, Misael?
I thought it was fantastic. I just had a few questions and statements about it.
Yeah. Well, I know one of the things that was disturbing. Wow. A little loud. That was disturbing for me as a viewer was that sorry guys, it's gonna be like that. Was that black and brown people who were colonized were fighting, you know? This may be the shortest show ever because of the sorry about that. We're here with Byron Lopez having a fundraiser. Could you ask them if they could turn the volume down a little bit? Well, the volume down. One. So Byron asked us to turn it down a little bit. Sorry about that. Hey, how are you doing today? Ecuador won. Ecuador won and soccer 2-0, so there's a lot going on. And yeah, so that was disturbing for me on a number of levels, but mostly because, you know, here you have colonized people from Africa and from Latin America, both really the victims of imperialism and colonialism, and then fighting because they want to be protected from the outside world. The outside world because they managed to have, you know, this vibranium that made them really high tech, and then also we find that there's new community, which are the descendants of Mayan royalty, which to me was really fascinating. I used to watch the cartoon a lot, but I'm not quite as familiar with the lore of the comics. Yeah. So listen, we're gonna just take a little walk right now. Get my coat, please. Sorry, bro. So hey, Byron, say hi to the stream. Say hi. This is Byron Lopez. We're talking about Wakanda Forever. You know what? It's not that cold, right? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go. Sorry, you didn't hear that. Sorry, I cussed a lot. Motherfucker, it's cold. Hopefully the kids are coming. So this is actually get a load of Pilsen. This is kind of like my neighborhood back home, but they got a lot more cooler grocery stores here, you know. So it's only gonna be like 30 minutes, Byron. Thank you so much. But so that to me was disturbing that you had historically oppressed people fighting each other for what, you know. So one of the things that struck me is that one, it's a fantasy because here's your group of Africans, right? Here's your group of Mayan royalty that has somehow managed to escape imperialism and colonialism. So it kind of offers this fantasy like, oh, you know what? Even though you all were fucked historically, some of these people got saved. But it's a whole fantasy. What did you think about that, Misael?
I thought it was very, I don't want to say chauvinistic, but it was kind of like,
you can say chauvinistic.
I thought it was very like, it was appropriating men for a while, but until the women stepped up. And
you mean in terms of the Black Panther? Because the Black Panther was always
yeah.
And
which is what my book is about. It's about women who are in a situation of surviving and achieving. So I feel like the status quo was eradicated by vibranium, but vibranium is something that is giving people the idea that you need something from outer space to be indigenous. But you know what? You don't
indigenous, technologically advanced too, which is a problem, right? Because one of the things that our cultures don't get credit for, like Mayans and Aztecs, is the amount of contributions. Like, this is a historical fact. If the colonists had, thank you, go with your sister, dude. You want to be on the show? Yeah. Okay. Antonio's coming back. He went to get my jacket. Ooh, it's fucking cold outside. Sorry. Is that it's like freezing outside. See that if the colonists hadn't come to the New World, the U.S. wouldn't have landed on the moon. It took all that silver, all that wealth for these countries to advance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Aztec culture was really advanced. So was African culture, right? It was a different kind of advancement. So what was interesting is that not only, yeah, go ahead. What do you think, Antonio?
We were learning about some ancient African city states and also like nations, and one of the most powerful, most renowned was the people of Ife, who was the best metalworkers of the time. The work was so good that when the white men or like white adventurers found them, they assumed it to be of somewhere else or of another origin because they thought that Africans couldn't create such and intricate metalworkings.
Yeah, so racist, right? And then I know that even now there are conspiracy theorists that think that aliens built the pyramids. Come on now.
Right,
so
right.
There was a lot, but it's just so they had vibranium in Wakanda and this ancient Mayan culture that somehow was saved, had also, what is it called? What was the name of the other metal? The one from the Mayans?
They just had vibranium.
No, it wasn't called vibranium. Well, maybe I'm thinking of, there's so many aniums in the Marvel universe.
You could be thinking about adamantium, but they'll have that.
No, but there's, you know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. I think you gotta call it, I think it's cultural chauvinism. And I don't know, there was a lot of beauty in the movie too, like cinematographically. I loved how they represented the ancient Mayan culture because it was beautiful, right? I mean the representation of the main character Namor's mother, and when that was juxtaposed, it was interesting because it juxtaposed at one point the brutality that the people were experiencing from conquistadors in Mayan culture, and then also in Africa. And so I thought that was good, but it didn't go far enough. It didn't make the point, You want to say something else?
Yeah, not to spoil anything.
Nah, spoilers. Sorry, bros and sisters and non-binary friends. There's gonna be spoilers.
Okay. Well, in the movie, it was based in the fact that they were able to find the same resources that the Black Panther had. So all of them became like this super successful underwater civilization, and they hate the people on land because they alienated them when they first came
and exploited them and killed them. I mean, that's what happened, right? So one of the, and I mean, and this is something for you, and I struggle with this too, and I struggle with the last movie because I think a lot of people like Killmonger, and they wanted to side with him because in many ways he was correct, right? Maybe his approach wasn't so, but my son kept asking, "Mom, why are we supposed to hate Namor? What has he done that is so wrong?" What do you think about that, Misael?
Namor was a character that was what's that word called when you blame somebody for something?
Victimized?
Not victimized, a scapegoat.
Scapegoated, yes.
I think Namor was scapegoated because he was the villain, and he was trying to save his community, but somehow he couldn't think outside the box, and he, as much technology and vibranium that they had, they couldn't come up with a better story. He had to kill the queen and all of this stuff. He was like, he came off as ruthless, because he killed the queen. He killed other folks, I think. And
yeah, he did at the very beginning.
So I was saying, have you ever seen the movie Blood In, Blood Out?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, I've seen it. Maybe we can go like this, boss. Yeah, I saw it a while ago.
I thought Black Panther 2 or Wakanda Forever was was Blood In, Blood Out, but with mutant powers.
I gotta see that movie again now. But
Yeah, yeah, because in that movie, at the ending, the blacks and Mexicans are killing each other.
oh shit, I definitely gotta watch that movie then.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's something to be said because I think a lot of times in the U.S. and I gotta call out my comrade Lou Rosenbaum because we are experiencing a cultural war, right? And we're seeing a lot of people rising up because of police brutality. George Floyd, of course, brought hundreds of thousands of people together all over the country and in parts of the world too, where they were protesting police brutality. And there's this opportunity now to have black and brown unity. But of course, the ruling class doesn't want that, right? And so, in some ways, the movie expresses what the ruling class wants, which is betrayal, which is black and brown people fighting each other for, whatever. In this case, it's not crumbs, it's for their empire, for their own existence, or their civilization, which is far more advanced than the people outside of Wakanda and outside of Atlantis. But I do think that there was a lot. There was a lot in this movie. It was very complex, and Namor to me is a very fascinating character. Because I empathize with him, especially when he comes up to the surface, and what does he see? He sees people like him being killed. He sees brown people being killed and enslaved. And again, at a very young age, the dude must have been like 7 years old. He killed the colonizers. He killed the owners of the haciendas.
right.
Which didn't happen historically. I mean, there were revolutions and uprising, but not like that. Go ahead, Antonio.
And I feel like they did a pretty good pivot from the comics in which Namor admittedly is like on the verge of being racist against the Wakandans because
Oh, not on the
openly
verge.
he chose to inform Thanos like when he was attacking people to where Wakanda was and to go attack them, and he's flooded Wakanda before in the comics. So they this time it feels like he wasn't the one who instigated because in the movie the Wakandans shot first. I mean, even though it was an accident, they still killed one of Namor's people first. So I feel like it was definitely brutal the way he went up against it. However, it seemed less terrible when you realize that the Wakandans did shoot first. They chose.
Well, and then too, even that whole dynamic of who shot first and all that. I mean, there was definitely a lot of misunderstanding between the groups, and but then the other thing that was kind of to me, I mean, there was so much in this movie, and I do hope people will watch it. I'm sorry if we ruined the ending for you, but the way Shuri was represented too, I thought was a problem. You talked about your book and your feminist approach, and at one point, I mean, I really thought she was going to become a villain. She goes to this very dark place. She's not as noble and elevated as her brother. And I understand that her mother was killed by Namor. Her brother had just died, which I thought was a cheap writing. But
Yeah, I feel like there was better ways they could have gone around it, and I feel like just recreating the heart-shaped orb again was definitely a cop out because Shuri was this like technologically advanced like super genius. She was able to like use technology to advantage. So I feel like she definitely would have worked better if they didn't just straight up recreate the heart-shaped orb.
but let's just say that right there is also an interesting dynamic because now you have a group of people that escaped the colonists. They escaped imperialist capitalism, and because of their advancements, the Wakandans are able to have the Black Panther again. And so that to me was interesting because it could have been a point of unity between the groups. They basically helped each other. One group helped the other one continue this tradition of decades, to have the Black Panther as a protector, right?
Not
So
to mention that Namor went like peacefully first. He was willing to like inform them about like a next move against people who were about to find like this huge cache of vibranium in the water, which would probably have ruined Wakanda's standings, and it would have made them not
that's
obsolete.
true. That's true. It would have been bad for the Wakandans as well because I like one thing that was good about the movie was how the outsiders definitely want the vibranium for military purposes, and they get stopped in the very beginning by the general and her warriors. But I think that was an accurate description of, let's say there was a Wakanda and an Atlantis. The U.S. would be going for their shit for weapons of mass destruction without a doubt. you know. So there was a lot, but
One thing that I thought was very interesting. The vibranium is a metaphor for indigenous magic,
oh yeah.
and what I've learned from an African shaman was that there's more things in Africa in terms of magic that could hurt people than there is to help them. And what he meant by that is that it I don't want to say is a war state of mind, but it was all built for protection. And some of these people who understand that medicine, I call it, or vibranium, they understand it as almost a secretive culture that they cannot reveal their secrets, simply because to reveal the secret is to disempower the medicine.
Mm.
And in the Americas, there was indigenous magic, or there is, but there's not as much as before. But it's a total metaphor for I guess the Western world trying to understand what it is that these people, indigenous people, have that still keep them intact in a modern dispensation. So that was a very interesting observance that I had, and I think that they're trying to understand what that is. Maybe they already have, but maybe they're trying to gain a better understanding of what that is, and that is just a metaphor saying that there's certain places they cannot be conquered militarily because of these protection devices, or called medicine, indigenous medicine, or witchcraft, or call it whatever.
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Because the motion from the brother and I forgot her name. Um the one princess was to take the technology outward to help people. Now they weren't given the vibranium, but they were definitely giving medicine and offering like places of education and really what we call community based learning schools, you know. So I thought that was cool. That right there, that impulse to help others, I thought was good, except that really the solutions have to come from the people themselves, you know. So there was a lot. I actually the one thing, and then this is where we're gonna spoil and we're gonna cut out some because, hey, welcome viewer, because we just got done watching the Ecuadorian and Qatar match, which was really beautiful. Some problems too, I guess, in terms of representation of women, and some problems in terms of how the players are playing. But I will say that the ending of this movie, because there was this point and Shuri, had did a she went back on the good path, right? And she offers Namor and his people protection. And you think they're coming to a point of black and brown unity, and then there's a betrayal at the end, and I'm like, son of a biscuit butters. But I guess what Antonio was saying is that this is more in line with the comics. That this is what Namor does. He attacks Wakanda, right? Like he's flooded it,
Yeah,
all
Neil
this.
is decently evil in the comics. I mean, he will help if you give him something in return, but he's not exactly a stand-up guy, and I feel like the movie definitely portrayed that, but it gave him a little more redeeming qualities as he didn't shoot first back his.
Well, and the reason he killed those people at the very beginning, which is one of the first wrong things he did, right, is because he wanted to protect his home. He wanted to protect his people from colonists, from exploitation. So that's why, it's like, I was talking about Killmonger earlier. I think a lot of people related with Killmonger. And he also had a beautiful cameo in this, which again, he's not quite the good guy, but he's asking Shuri, what are you going to do? Are you going to do what you have to do? And that's the thing about Killmonger and too Namor to a degree, because like you say, he can't think outside the box. He's just thinking of protecting himself with violence, and that can't end well.
Not to mention that near the end when Shuri goes on like the better path, she gets a message from her mother because depending on what you want, the spirit like the spirit realm ish in this movie will lead you down that path.
Sorry, we left other stuff over there. Are they closing up?
No, no. It's
Yeah.
just to be with you.
Oh, thank
So,
you. Did you get scared? Yeah. So yeah.
Um, I wanted to talk about that. The the role of the feminine in that aspect was at the
Okay,
ultimate ending
go,
was the
please.
compassion that she shows for Namor.
Right,
And she shows him compassion because she hears her ancestor, the Queen Mother, speak to her and says, "Show her who you really are."
right, right.
And in other words, trying to cleanse her from Killmonger's ancestral hold that he has on her. So it was a very moving film. I was moved by a lot of these things, but I'm not happy with the film in terms that it feels basic. It
Yeah,
feels it felt like it was basic. It felt like it wasn't too out there, and it felt like all it did was stir conflict within Latino and Black and
exactly.
Mexican brown unity. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that's why, I think in real life, like say for example here in Chicago, we have, and on full disclosure, I'm supporting Brandon Johnson, who's a black, candidate. I consider him a brother, a father of three kids, used to be a union organizer, and super intelligent and positive. I learned a lot just from having conversation with him, but he's not the machine candidate. All right. Then you have Chuy Garcia, who has been in politics, I want to say since the 80s, has not been the most, how can I say this? He doesn't have the greatest integrity. And he doesn't represent Latinos well either. And I'll give you one key example. When it came time for, I believe it was Congress people to vote for La Promesa in Puerto Rico, he voted for it. And what La Promesa did was essentially give the beach fronts to gentrifiers, to hotels, so that the people actually had to pay for that from Puerto Rico with their tax money and are not getting any of that revenue back. How can you pretend to be a Latinx person and do this so that an island is devastated? And he's done other stuff that's really just questionable and corrupt. And people think he's as this Latino candidate. But what we're seeing now is that it's a heavy lift to get Latinos to want to vote for Brandon Johnson, right? Because they're going for what they know. They're excited that a Latino is running. He's a machine candidate. On the other hand, we have Brandon Johnson that is being endorsed by the Chicago Teachers Union. My own union, the Cook County College Teachers Union, endorsed him on Friday. And, the American Federation of Teachers is giving Brandon Johnson $1 million for his campaign. They know what's at stake, right? And it's going to be an uphill battle. But if people will look beyond color, if they will look at the politics and the track record and what Brandon has done, it's an easy choice, you know? And so I do think that there's this potential now to have black and brown unity, especially when it comes to fighting police brutality, issues that are important to everybody, like homelessness. For us in Chicago, we have so many homeless people that there are enough people to have a 51st ward. Think about that. That is a lot of homeless people that aren't getting their needs met, representation, you name it. So if people could get beyond identity politics, which are so dangerous, get beyond the black and brown thing and unify around basic needs, we would be in a much better place right now politically and in terms of people's lives. So there's something to be said for that. But I do think that because you are seeing expressions of this in the country where black and brown people and white people are getting together, and the ruling class doesn't want that, right? They want the Wakanda forever. They want black and brown people fighting each other. Not even for a sustainable society. They wanted to fight over crumbs. And we can't stand for that. And so I think when these kinds of movies come out, we have to enjoy them for what they are, but we also have to critique them for what the underlying message is and what it can do, right? Because people do
Right.
listen to this, and as much as people aren't so woke, I think people will be like, ooh, here, black and brown people not getting along. Look at them fighting each other. That's what they want. They want us to be divided. You know.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is on point because um when we're talking about uh black and brown unity, where's white come along? Where's the white ally? And it's very important to say that this topic of black and brown unity is very old. At this point, we should be having black, brown, yellow, and white
Yeah.
unity,
Right. Red, pink,
solidarity.
all unity. Yep.
Yeah, at this point, we shouldn't even be talking about black and brown unity because it is we have black Republicans, we have black capitalists, we have
Oh, for sure.
Mexican capitalists, we have we have in every poor country, these places already have their millionaires that are minorities in the game of elitism. But we are trying to think outside the box, in the sense that we do need that white ally, we do need that Asian ally, we do need whatever allies we can get, and create these dialogues about poverty and eradicating it with by meeting the needs of many people. So I feel like it's this movie that's why I say it's basic, because the is the imagination. Even though the graphics are cool, the imagination of class unity and all of that stuff is not there, because like you say, it was based on royalty,
Mm-hmm.
meeting, trying to come together, and all these people are still subjected to that.
And even beyond that, Namor was technically a god. He was Quetzalcoatl, right? The winged serpent or something like that. What,
Kukul,
and I know
Kukulkan.
our comrade Steve Teixeira, who was a retired faculty member from UCLA, he has to really
Calcity.
push Cal State, or pardon me, Cal State. Sorry, Cal State. Why is it that the Black Panther, right? Why do they have to be royalty? Why does Namor not only have to be royalty, but be a god? Why can't they be regular people like Miles Morales, who is a new Spider-Man in some multiverses, or let me see, other characters, even, well, he's wealthy. I was going to say Iron Man, but other characters that are not necessarily royalty, but just normal people that something happened, some accident or something was done to them. But Captain America too, he was, experimented on. He was a working class kid from the Bronx, right, or Brooklyn or somewhere, and so I find it interesting when it comes to characters of color, like these black and brown ones, that they have to be extra, right? Um, I would say that the Chao Chi, the Chinese one though, he was interesting because he wasn't royalty, right, Antonio? He just was a descendant of power. Is that right?
Yeah, his dad Anduin, and that group is basically a terrorist organization.
But they're not like royalty or gods or anything like that.
No.
See, that to me is cool. Batman also, Batman's a DC verse, but she's right. I mean, he's wealthy though. But I do think that there's something to be said for these representations. I say, okay, you could be a hero too if you're royalty, which is messed up when you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but anyway, let's end on a good note. Let's see. Uh, I don't know. I hope that people enjoy the movie. We'd like to hear what you have to say. Well, how do you think we can get to unity? Forget about black and brown unity. How do we get to unity to meet our basic needs? Because that's such a key question. And what do you think about these characters having to be heroes or royalty? Put it in the comments. If you like this episode, like and subscribe. Sorry, it's a little bit shorter than usual. Actually, not too short. We're at 30 minutes ish. But I really wanted to unpack that because I wanted to have these conversations with people. If nobody bit on my social media, I went to another forum and I asked this question about royalty, and I got attacked by a black woman because she was like calling me a dirty academic. And I'm like, no, that's not me. Whatever, dude. Talk about black and brown unity, right? But I hope you like the show, Misan. As ever, it's good to see you. We're going to go keep celebrating Ecuador 2-0. And we'll see you again next time. Yeah? What do you think we should do for the show, Misan? What you feeling?
The next show?
Reading?
The next show?
On Sunday, yeah. Should we do a poet, feature a poet?
Yeah, why not? Let's
all right.
invite Matt Cedillo.
The kid, William Guerrero, who was running for a police committee, an oversight committee. He's 21 years old. He's super amazing. Young candidate, really inspirational. Yesterday, I was collecting signatures for Byron Sichko Lopez, who is not in my ward, but is an amazing alder person. Super, just down with the people. Really, really amazing human being. But we're collecting signatures for Brandon Johnson, who's running for mayor again, and for the kid William Guerrero. The thing that struck me is that when we were walking around in Pilsen, people were really excited to hear about the kid, and they were willing to sign for him. But not the others, not necessarily the some did. The dog walkers signed for Byron and Brandon, but people were really excited to see a young Chicano, a youth, running for office, and so that's really exciting to see. I hope he gets it. He's very articulate and he's a poet, so it's going to be amazing to have him on. So maybe have a poetic conversation next time if we can get him on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome,
awesome.
Yeah, well, listen, brother, I love you. I'm so happy to see you. I hope you have
much love to you
day.
too.
All right, take care, everybody. Have an amazing day. Bye.
Bye.